Hello, and welcome to the Mystic Sisters sessions. We are so honored to have you join us for our very first podcast episode. We are four souls, one mission to guide you home to yourself. And we consist of myself, Kristen, Beth, Cyndi, and Mandi. And we're going to go around and make introductions, starting with Beth.
Hi, my name is Beth. I'm life coach for the Mystic Sisters.
Oh, I'm Cyndi. I'm the tarot reader for the Mystic Sisters
And astrology.
and astrology. I don't like claiming that yet since I still don't, but yeah.
I'm Mandi, and I'm your yoga guide.
And I'm Kristen. I do Reiki, guided meditations, and Mother's Blessings. And I also have a ritual box subscription. So, we're each going to talk a little bit about our life journeys and then what led us to what we do now, starting with Beth.
All right. So, like I said, my name is Beth. I do life coaching, and I want to start out by saying that life coaching didn't start out as a career goal for me. To be completely honest with you, I'd never heard of such a career idea. However, if I had, I probably would have chosen that from the beginning. Um, but essentially, my journey, as most of our journeys do, but mine began in childhood where I just never really quite fit in. Felt like I was moving through a world or trying to move through a world that I didn't quite understand, or it didn't understand me. Fast forward, late adulthood, I get to the point in life where on paper everything looks great. Essentially, I have met the goals that, society tells us that we are supposed to meet. I have a beautiful life, a beautiful house, a supportive spouse, children, um, a job that I liked, so everything should have been great, right? Only I didn't quite feel that way. Um, not completely, not fully. And so that left me with the questions like, what's wrong with me, right? Um, you know, flash news flash, I guess. Nothing's wrong with me. Well, maybe, but in that sense, nothing's wrong with me. And if you were feeling the same, nothing is wrong with you. But your circumstances still aren't quite right. Right? Your path isn't aligned. You're not where you're supposed to be. And that was a very confusing time, right? How can I have everything that I've ever wanted and still not be happy? Right? That doesn't make sense, right? Well, at 39, I had a heart attack, and it really facilitated the pause, and the turning into, um, trying to figure out why I still felt that way. How I could go through and still not feel completely happy, right? It stopped the endless grind. And at that point, I realized that I wanted something more. There was more to life than the house and the job and the working 9 to 5 every day just to make ends meet, right? I needed something else, something that fulfilled me. Okay. And like I said, that's when I started asking myself questions. What do I want really? What do I want? Not what society told me I wanted. What do I want and what do I need? Right? Um, I like to compare this to just humans in general, essentially. Okay. Most of us understand that in order to survive, humans need water, food, clothing, or shelter, right? Well, your soul has needs too. What are those needs? I had no idea what my soul needed. And so taking the time to start thinking about those questions and discovering who I really was, not who I was told I should be, was a huge catalyst, or I guess kind of the starting point of my spiritual journey. The moments that I finally said, "Hey, I need to figure this out." A beautiful kitty cat, by the way. Mine will probably join us here in a moment. Um, and so that's when I started exploring healing paths and life coaching in general. I've done a lot of shadow work throughout the years, trying to figure out who I am and who I want to become, and fought those battles in the dark, so to speak, in the shadow, right? And for the first time, I started to branch out and find others like Kristen, Cyndi, and Mandi that are, on these paths as well. That people I've known my whole life, some closer than others. Um, Cyndi is my sister for one, so I unfortunately have to claim her since, birth, basically her birth anyway. Um, Kristen's been a longtime friend of Cyndi since high school, and I've been friends with Mandi since high school as well. So, but, but until these moments and until my sister and I started talking about the tarot and something else going on in life, I had no idea that these other women were on the path with me. And through tarot and Reiki and yoga and life coaching, introspective, shadow work, things like this, astrology, um, I began to put together the pieces of that puzzle of who I am finally, right? Who I am, what I needed, what my soul needed, and what I truly wanted. Okay. Um, like I said, to my surprise, I wasn't going through this alone. There's the four of us right here, and there is an entire movement, I feel, towards these practices, things that have been around since ancient history. Um, and what am I trying to say here? I saw myself in so many other people, not just people that were already on the journey as I would my peers and colleagues and things like that, but other people who are out there still fighting to understand who they are and what they need. They are still chasing that dream that will ultimately leave them unfulfilled. Um, and so if I'd have had someone like me 20 years ago, oh, maybe I would have, I mean, that's just that much more, that much longer that you can be happy for, right? The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time is now, right? So you have to get started on this journey towards your happiness to ever get there. Disclosure. Um, I don't think there's not a finish line here either. That finish line keeps moving, um, so to speak. Not that you're unhappy in the pursuit, but you are continually learning and growing and becoming a better version of yourself, right? A lot of people look for things like life coaching or counseling, therapy, all of these things to fix them, to fix what is wrong with you. Again, newsflash, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just confused. You're not broken. You're just chasing someone else's dream and you don't even know what yours is, right? But your body, heart, and soul does know. We just have to get the all three on the same page, right? On the same page as your mind that says, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. But you got to get it on the same page with your heart and your soul so that you are truly on that path. Okay. And not to make this a life coaching session, but that is essentially that idea of being able to pick others up and help guide them along this journey. Um, just a friend, so to speak, on the walk to self-discovery and understanding and acceptance is why I am here today.
I don't know how to follow that.
With words.
So great with them. I, like Beth, started out real young. I didn't feel like I necessarily belonged anywhere. I was kind of on my own a lot. Beth has even pointed out where I was kind of the outside of even my siblings. So I just kind of did my own thing. Not that I was necessarily an outcast or anything along those lines, but I just didn't quite click, and I'd rather be on my own. Growing up, I've never done exactly what society thought I should do. I did end up in corporate for about 15 to 20 years, and wasn't satisfied in that part of my life. I always thought maybe I should be doing something else. I don't like the 9 to 5. I don't like having somebody breathing down my back telling me I need to work harder when I'm already doing more than half my team, and so on and so forth. But I've always been into astrology and learning more. Finally found out about like the ascendant, your moon and your sun sign, and how that helps, and then started digging deeper and learning about planetary alignment and where it is on my chart. And that got me and Kristen talking and got us all a little more intrigued. And then my sister and I started talking and got me a little more intrigued, and I kind of sat down with them and helped them go over their charts and everything along those lines. And then, of course, tarot is kind of naturally in there too, where I finally just went ahead and bought a deck. I'd heard that you weren't supposed to, but I just found one that would walk me through it a little easier than most. Instead of me having to search through the book, it kind of gives me some guidance on the actual card itself. And that has really opened up my journey on reading tarot and helping guide people, or at least answer some questions for them from their guides, to let them know what path, or if they're on the right path, or if they need to change something or look at something in a different perspective or something along those lines. So it's been a long journey. And kind of like Beth, I wish I would have started this about, 20 years ago and built this up a little bit more. But here we are, and I have friends to start and encourage and commiserate and everything else along those lines. So it's been a good journey so far.
And I'm Kristen, and I find it fascinating that we all kind of had similar journeys where growing up we felt alone, like outcast, but we were all going through that together in our own spaces. And then as adults, we've been able to come together and share those stories. But we have so many, commonalities. I just wish that we had known that when we were younger so that we didn't feel so alone. I have kind of a similar journey where from a really young age, I was raised Christian, Methodist, but it didn't really resonate completely. There were bits and pieces that I liked, but I just kind of felt like an outcast all around in church and school and my family. I was always drawn to movies like Ferngully, Pocahontas, even like Peter Pan, and living in the trees and everything, really like natural world kind of things. But I always felt like something was missing. I know now that a lot of people feel that way, but I thought that there was something wrong with me at a young age. Um, and then I read Wrinkle in Time. I think it was like fourth, fifth grade. It was like mandatory reading. Madeline L'Engle. Loved that book. From there, I got into some of her other books on druids, and that led me down the rabbit hole of druids, and then discovering like Marion Zimmer Bradley. I got this book because it's like such an epic part of my journey from a young age. And then I would go to the library and check out like every book I could on anything that was like metaphysical, mystic, anything like that. I got really into astrology, like Madame Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, the Order of the Golden Dawn, like the first kind of like spirituality movement. yeah, just a rabbit hole from there. And I felt like it was my own kind of like personal world. Like I was a weirdo. I was an outcast. I was the only one really like paying attention to these things. That's the way I felt. And then I joined the military because I didn't want to go straight to college. Thought maybe that would be a good fit for me. It wasn't, but I did have some interesting experiences. I found like Edgar Casey. I was stationed in Virginia Beach for a little while, and I found that he had a center there. And so that just like lit me up. I'm like, oh my goodness, Edgar Casey has an institute in Virginia Beach. Like, I got to go there. So there were like little breadcrumbs and synchronicities along the way. And like going to those metaphysical shops, I found a book on Reiki. Was always really interested in that. Still wasn't quite on my path, got out of the military, went to college, got the psychology degree, went to work at a mental health organization for 10 years, thought like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, but still didn't quite fit. Got married, had children, a son, daughter. We have a nice house. We have a dog and a cat. Still, I'm like, I have the American dream. What's wrong with me? Why do I still feel unfulfilled? But I wasn't doing what lit me up. I think that's so important. Finding what lights you up, finding things that, like, when you're talking about them, you become emotional. Um, and then I always kind of had a sister wound with that, and not just talking about like sister relationships, but as in like female relationships, where I felt like I wanted to be part of like a women's circle, priestess. But I was too scared to like branch out and find anything like that. I finally did find a women's circle, and then things started clicking into place. I had a support system for the first time. Cyndi and I started talking more about our spirituality. We'd always been friends, like since we were 12, but we kind of kept those things at a distance. So we kind of like rediscovered our friendship through that too, that we had so much more in common. I got the courage to, start getting Reiki treatment for myself and then become a practitioner. So I started training in 2023, got my Reiki 1 in 2023, Reiki 2 in 2024, and then my master level 3, 2025 last year, and became a practitioner. I finally quit my corporate job. That was really scary, but it felt like a moment of flow that I was like, I can do this. I can quit my corporate job and put my energy into doing, Reiki and my ritual boxes full time. So we're just women sharing our lived experience. But what really lights me up outside of like Reiki and helping women heal through Reiki is helping people transitioning like into motherhood, because that was a difficult transition for me. So like adolescence, we go through something called matrescence. It is, moving from like the maiden into the mother. And I like to help anyone and any women especially, but that's kind of my spot where my heart is really at, because in American society now, it's, like you have your baby, you get back to work, you're not supported, you have to work as hard as you can, mother as hard as you can, take care of the house. And that is not sustainable. And I didn't learn that until after I had children. So I want to help other women in similar positions transition into motherhood and then feel supported and start healing, through motherhood. And for the longest time, I was scared to put myself out there. I was like, who wants to hear me talk? But the time has come where I think it's important, thank you, Beth, to share our stories. Like we have lived experience that we want to share, and hopefully it resonates with you. And if it does, awesome. Like come work with us or join our community or just listen to us chat on this podcast. But we want to let everyone know there are other people like you out there. So that is my story, and then I'll hand it over to Mandi.
Hi, I'm Mandi. So, my story's not too far different, to be honest. Like the feeling the differences growing up, I had friends in school. I think we all did, but I didn't necessarily feel like I was a part of a big group. I always feel like I'm the outer layer of the onion. I'm not that core space. I have friends. I always had friends, but nothing that I felt like I was part of the big group. I was involved. I've grown up in the Missouri area for my whole life, and I've done all the clubs of 4-H, FFA. I did all that ag stuff. I was in band in high school. That's where Beth and I met. That I can recall, and we may have met beforehand. I would say I think it was
Maybe in
maybe
4-H.
youth group, maybe 4-H. But then I remember all of you at youth group at church. Babysat Kristen when she was little. But we've all had connections here. And so I don't know. It just not I don't know if I ever came to the realization that what I felt wasn't what everybody else felt for the most part. So I just accepted that, I think. Well, we'll have to dive into that discussion later. But I think for the most part I've done the graduate high school. I went on and I did go to college. Things didn't really pan out for my initial goal, so I pivot and I went into a dog boarding business. All through having married my high school sweetheart, having children now, and over time, life is just moving on. And as a mother and wife, living life, I then later contract Lyme disease. And that's where things kind of hit in my journey that I think we all kind of have moments, it seems like, that things have this is where this part of this Mystic Sisters part starts being unique for ourselves. So when I got Lyme disease, I wasn't feeling well. I was always very active, but it kind of drained me. And then later coming along, I saw a flyer for a yoga class. I had tried some videos, which they're boring because the first few minutes you're breathing. I know how to breathe. I don't need to sit here and breathe on a video in my, living room floor when I have laundry and children to care for and dishes and mopping. There's things to do. And so went to a class and I loved it. It was great. I found a group of people that also enjoyed same physical abilities, that we can change it to the ability that fit us best. I tried previous like aerobics classes and I'm stepping all over everybody else's space. And then come to yoga, I have my mat. I am on my mat and I have my own space. And now I'm not stripping on everybody else or tripping them up. So I'm coming to join a community, but I'm still able to do my own thing when I'm doing the yoga. And so that's when, in a little bit of time, when I was telling my husband one afternoon, I think I'm going to skip class. I'm going to stay home. And he's like, no, you got to go. You do better when you go. And because when you're not feeling well, that's when you need it. You're better when you come back. So I'm like, oh, did not realize what I liked was actually being reflected in a way that people around me saw it improved me in some way. Not only, I'm not going out there to lose big pounds and, getting swole or whatever the fitness terms are, but I have a better attitude. I don't complain about things hurting. I'm not as tired. The things that Lyme disease really just kind of knocks into me. And so I can overcome these issues by going and doing these. And in time, it was like, hey, why don't you go to a training and become an instructor? This collaboration here with Mystic Sisters will add some more opportunities. Sooner than later, I hope I'll be adding more videos and things to provide online options. I've had classes on and off throughout the community. What is it, 12 years? I think we looked at the timing at some point. So, of course, COVID hit and some of the in-person things kind of changed, but trying to get back to the whole doing it more often and in person when we can. But still, we have lots of people that aren't very comfortable coming out and seeing others in person. So why not we offer these online options as well? I feel like for me, yoga's more introverted, as that's who I am, but I can look at the perspectives of life and be comfortable with things and go with the flow. And it's this melding that Beth has talked about, not just mind and body, but it's the soul and spirits and stuff like that. So that's my journey at this time.
And Beth is the one that assembles us all. So, Beth, what led you to form the Mystic Sisters?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I don't know how anybody could have the conversations that I have had with you guys and have that not necessarily come up. Each one of you have been amazing in your own right? So when I discovered that I had these other women that I've practically grown up with, right? Um, we're not exactly the same age, but we're all, I mean, kind of boom, 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 all right there, going through these same things and having these same questions. And then I'm left wondering, when did we start talking about this? When did I mean, like I said, Kristen and Cyndi have been very close for a long time, but this never came up before now, that sense of community around women in a supporting role, you know, um, wanting to bring as many people on this journey with me is the main catalyst for it, So where with life coaching, I hope to be able to assist those that are just getting their journey started, right? So when you're stumbling through the shadow work, the inner questions, the wondering why and the how, all of that, that's what life coaching is for. I'm there to still on my journey, but there to answer questions in the uh constraints, that's not the right word, but the concept of the Mystic Sisters, it's more about camaraderie and bringing a sense of community and healing to all of the different lines that are open, right? So Kristen's drawn to Reiki and has been. Cyndi's drawn to the astrology part. Mandi to the yoga. Me to helping others, and also I use astrology in helping people understand themselves. Bringing all of those together, because any of the individuals that we speak to are going to be drawn to one line of work or the other. So in this aspect, we can kind of offer multiple options for healing and knowledge and understanding, all in a learning environment for each other and with each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the connection that Mandi pointed out, and I didn't even realize this before we did our branding session pictures, but we all went to the Methodist church in our hometown, and like I had no idea. And then out of it, we, grew into the different modalities that we all practice. And I would recommend any of these modalities to anyone. Like I'll talk to people, and I'm like, oh, you should really talk to Beth. Like I think that you could use someone to talk to, like some life coaching or yeah, like go talk to Mandi, take some of her yoga classes. Like you got a lot of, tension and anxiety, or you're stuck in life and don't know how to move forward. Like reach out to Cyndi, get a tarot reading. So I would absolutely recommend any of these ladies. I love everything that they do.
Same.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth, for getting us all together.
Absolutely. Thanks for putting this together. I can't believe we're all here chit-chatting and doing our first little podcast. And shout out to anybody who gets to see this for the first time. Reach out. We're here to help you along your path.
Yes, absolutely. And we will link all of our socials and website and everything like that too. And we're going to close with a couple questions. So I have a question for everybody. Starting with Beth, if you could recommend one book to everyone listening or watching, what would it be and why?
So as you know, I'm not good with limits. So I actually chose two. One of them is Angela's Ashes. And it's a book set in like early 19th century Ireland, and it follows this. It's basically a biography, an autobiography. But the gentleman telling it is very upbeat. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. Most of my reading is fiction, fantasy type, um, extraterrestrials, vampires and witches and all of this kind of good fun stuff. And I like to read for fun. So for me to just sit down and read for learning, I do that too, but not in a format. Um, so
I'm
this
actually
one,
surprised. Sorry, I'm surprised you read Angela's Ashes. Dad got you to read that one?
yes, yes, and
And
I
then,
loved it. He actually, because I liked it so much and I told him I liked it, he got me the other versions and I haven't read those yet, but I intend to. But no, it's for as hard as life was for this man growing up, he has a wonderful way of keeping his chin up and rolling with the punches, so to speak. Um, and anyway, it's just an amazing story. And it turns out him and his surviving siblings, I think he lost a couple siblings, if I remember. But him and his surviving siblings eventually come to America and do amazing things. Becoming author, him becoming an author was just one of them. And then my second choice is also a nonfiction. It's called Nature versus Nurture. I had to read it for a science class at some point in time. And I, again, forgot to go and look up the author on it. But Nature versus Nurture is about how we have predestined or personality traits essentially that are core to just us. Like you're kind of born with them. Um, and then that is also influenced whether certain aspects are encouraged or discouraged throughout nurturing in your home and family throughout the years. They do some studies where there's like twins, identical twins, and raised separately. Maybe they grow up to be almost exactly the same, whereas raised in the same home, they grow up to be two completely different people. Um, and so, how much of you is your nature or your environment? And anyway, it was a very interesting read. You're up, Cyndi.
one of my favorite books is Winner of Our Content, by oh no, I'm going to blank on his name. The one who wrote Of Mice and Men and Grapes of Wrath, John
Steinbeck?
Steinbeck. Thank you, Steinbeck. He's written a lot of them, and all of them have unfortunately atrocious endings. But me, for that one, it's just always stuck with me. Basically, he kind of goes through life and isn't necessarily happy about it, and kind of, I mean, he's doing what society is tells him he should be doing, and he's still like, no, I don't get it. So it kind of mirrors a lot of people, I think, at this point in time who have done what society said you would do, get your dream, or go to school, get your job, and you'll have the dream all figured out and you'll be done. And obviously that hasn't really happened with a lot of our generation. We've kind of been lied to, I feel like, by society. So it reflected that in my point of view. And then honestly, if you're interested in tarot or astrology or anything, if a book catches your eye, pick it up, read it. That's what I generally do. And I just continue learning. I'm done. Sorry. That's it.
And Mandy's up.
Okay, so for my books, again, I'm not just choosing one, I'm choosing two. Which actually it's not just two, it's so if you're looking at yoga stuff, the Yoga Fit books by Beth Shaw, she has several different books with themes like directed towards whether it's for seniors or maybe Yoga Fit Lean helps with some ideas about your health and trying to find some ideas with recipes as well. But the Yoga Fit books by Beth Shaw, that's also part of the training system I've been doing for my yoga experience. But it helps with like breath work and in the concepts of how to take yoga off the mat. It's not just an experience of fitness on the mat in a class. It's how can you live that yoga lifestyle, which there's all kinds of aspects with that, and you make it your own. But the next book I recommend, it's a little lengthier, so I had to get my notes here again. It's The Body Keeps the Score, and it's by Bessel van der Kolk. And this goes through some different aspects that what happens to you, you might retain physically in your bodies. And so when we, whether it's trauma or anything like that, how are we going to work through that? And how are we going to understand the experiences that we've been through and become better able to handle those kinds of ideas? It's a little clinical, but I feel like it's kind of conversational in a discussion that it's comfortable to read as a informative type of reading. So
All right, since everyone else is picking two, I'm gonna pick two as well. So my first one would be Mama Rising, and I got it ready here, by Amy Taylor Kabaz. I hope I didn't butcher that name. So it really helped me with reframing motherhood, and that's where I got the word matrescence, that biological and physical transformation into motherhood. So yeah, and there's kind of like exercises in here and things like that too. So it's a very like hands-on book. Really like that one. And then the other one I don't have a hard copy of because I listened to the audiobook. But it is The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. And it is a fictional book. So it's a fictional story, but it has a lot of spiritual concepts kind of woven through it and through the story. And that's where I got my word synchronicities that everyone has heard me say a million times. But as Cyndi was talking, and she's like, if you see a book, pick it up. If you're interested in it, if I see or hear a title of a book like 3 times, I'm like, that's a synchronicity. That's a sign from the universe. Then I need this book to add to my collection of all the other books that I have. But I do believe that. I do believe in synchronicities and things being more than a coincidence. Beth, did you have a question you wanted to ask us?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I almost forgot that part. So my question to everyone is, what is one small realization that you've had on your journey that has changed the way you move through life? I can kind of give mine as an example if that helps, or okay.
yeah.
Mine, for example, was literally the realization that I'm not the only person on the planet that has a plethora of emotions. Everyone has emotions. They're just a heck of a lot better at hiding them than I am. That is something that, even though I spent years practicing suppressing my emotions. And, granted, some of it comes with emotional maturity. We don't have to throw a temper tantrum, as an adult. There's other ways to communicate. Sometimes, Cyndi, you might have to throw a temper tantrum. What was it that said that somebody said they read where you flip the table because, holding in that rage or whatever is like harmful to your body. Flip the table, Karen, whatever it was. But
Like Mandy was talking about, we store that and it ends up being trauma in our bodies, and that's our aches and pains and all of that fun stuff. So releasing it when yeah, I agree. Sorry.
releasing it appropriately might be beneficial. But in general, at least I was never able to hold it back. For better or worse, that has affected my journey. People don't tend to want to be around someone who's emotional all the time, right? So I think that's part of what set me outside the group. So honestly, the realization, and I was 30 plus when I figured this out, was that I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that feels sad at the movie. I'm just the only one who can't not cry, right? When someone passes away or the main characters, whatever. That realization has absolutely changed the way I look at things. I don't feel like an outsider. I'm just like, oh, you're good at hiding it. That's my example. You're up, Cyndi.
Honestly, I would say going through my chart and learning a little bit more about myself, and then also working with you guys, going over your charts and kind of discussing, oh, we have these planets, our generational planets that are in the same house, or same sign, not same house. We're all a little different in what house it lands in, but it's the same sign. Like our Plutos are all in Scorpio and everything along those lines. And what does that mean? So, and also learning that my big three is all water. So I'm supposed to be emotional. Also understanding my rising sign as a Scorpio rising, and why growing up, some people were drawn to me and other people absolutely hated me, and I hadn't even talked to them yet. So realizing that wasn't me, I mean, it was, but I mean, it wasn't necessarily
You weren't doing something wrong.
right. That it was just how they perceived me, and okay. But getting more into that, and then also just doing readings for you guys. You guys will ask me a question, or I know I've worked with you a lot, Beth, in the last few years, where you're like, I have a question, just give me 3 cards and what the hell's going on. And that's what we do. And it kind of helps at least give you a new perspective, or look at it in a different way of, okay, I've been going about it this way, but the cards say maybe go this way instead, or something along those lines. And just, yeah, that all of that has led me to here and now, and why.
All right, I guess I'm up. Realizing that if I make a mistake, to own it. So I have my sun and moon in Libra. So I used to be a huge people pleaser. I like to say I'm a recovering people pleaser now. I would like to say I'm recovered, but I still have some people pleasing tendencies. So I used to not want to ever disappoint anyone or even get things wrong, because I also have a lot of Virgo in my chart. So I'd be like, oh, I don't know what happened. But just learning that that's not getting you anywhere and that's not helping anyone else. So just like if I make a mistake, owning that mistake, communicating, like apologizing if I need to, and then making reparations. Like, what do I need to do to fix that mistake?
I like that one. I think we all kind of do that sometimes.
Yes. So I guess it's my turn. So for me, it's kind of just going with the flow, being present in the moment. I'll still stew on some ideas that I might be holding on to some concepts, but it doesn't help. My emotions are all over the place if I'm going to be upset about something that happened in the past or anxious about what's coming up in the future. I just know what's going to happen is going to happen. Not that I can't try to properly react and whatnot, but just going with the flow and being present in this time that I have at this moment. As a mom, as a teacher, and you just, I can only control my own reactions, and I can't necessarily control what anybody else is doing. So just being understanding, and what will be, but do what I can with what I have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds like an awful good way of letting go of control. Awesome. All right, Cyndi, I think you're up next with the question. Is that still the plan? Sorry, Kristen.
Oh, I don't. If anyone else has a question to ask, yeah.
Okay, I was like, I didn't come up with a question. I didn't understand the assignment apparently. But yeah.
No comment. No.
I'll ask next time.
Yeah, there we go. I'll be more prepared next time.
Okay.
You guys got since you practiced last week.
So next time, Cyndi and Mandi will ask the questions.
Cool beans.
All right. Well, that concludes this Mystic Sisters session, our very first one. If you stuck with us to the end, thank you very much. I will link all of our socials and our website if you would like to work with us or chat with us or check us out. So thank you all for joining us today. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep coming home to yourself.
Love it.